Only a fool would ignore this. Only a fool would ignore this.
Hi everybody, this is Renee from Bad Outfit Great Lipstick, and I hope you're doing well. Today I'm going to do a review of almost every fragrance in the Imaginary Authors line. And Imaginary Authors is a niche house, relatively new. Looks like the company started in 2012 because that's the earliest date for most of their fragrances. There are 11 fragrances in the line, and I tried 10. I have tried every fragrance in the line except for Mosaic. How I tried these was I ordered their Discovery set, and their Discovery set is actually called the Bookshelf, and it contains 8 spray bottle samples. So they come with little labels and spray bottles like this. It contains 8 of these, and you pay $35 plus shipping. I also received 2 extra samples. I received City on Fire and Yesterday Haze, which are not included in the actual bookshelf list. So, but those were 2 that I really wanted to try, so I was glad to get them. I did experience, I will say, a little bit of leakage in transit with these. They are in the spray vials, they do not have caps, and they were not packaged in a box. They were in bubble wrap. So I really, really like spray vials for testing fragrances. I feel like a spray tends to give you a better, it spreads out better versus dabbing it on where you can get really weird concentrations. It's just that because it was in an envelope, some of the bottles got squished a little and squirted out during transit. In the envelope, you could actually smell when it came in the mail. Some people, I think, find that really charming. I live in a house with people who have asthma and allergies, so I always get nervous when a package, you know, as soon as you pick it up, you haven't even opened it, it kind of smells. So I do wish that they would package the samples in a box, but that's a minor complaint. The samples are pretty generous. I think they are, I have the website up, they are, yes, 2 milliliters, and again, they are in a spray vial. Great price for those. And Imaginary Authors is just what it sounds like. It is perfumes based on novels written by imaginary authors. And I'm not going to go into the backstory of each author and the actual novels that they wrote, because that information is easily accessible on the website, and this is already going to be a very long video. But I'm an English teacher, so to me, that is such a thrilling concept. And when I saw the website and read the descriptions, I was just so enthralled with the creativity and the idea of fragrances based on fake authors and fake books. I mean, they actually came up with plots for these books and pictures for the authors. It's just so creative, and I'm obsessed with it. So, a little bit biased because I teach English, but I think it's very creative and very great. These are $85 for the full bottles, and you get 60 ml in a full bottle. I think that's a very affordable price. Designer fragrances, depending on what you get, can sometimes be $90 to $100 a bottle, and niche tends to be very expensive. At $85 for 60 milliliters, you are paying $1.42 per mil. I'm fine with that. I think that's a phenomenal price, particularly for niche. The nose behind this line is Josh Meyer. Seems like a great guy. And so let's get into the fragrances. I have this divided into 3 categories. I have the ones that I liked, the ones that I disliked, and the ones that I loved. So we're going to start with the ones that I liked.
Come sit next to me and tell me what you saw.
6 blackbirds flying north, icicles dropping from the rooftops.
First on my list of ones I really liked is Falling into the Sea. For when to wear, Imaginary Authors says, this scent is sunshine in a bottle, wear on cloudy days to invoke the ardor of summer. Notes are lemon, bergamot, grapefruit, lychee, tropical florals, and warm sand. And I actually have this one on this wrist today. This is really pretty. I wouldn't say this is bright or sunny in a traditional sense. It doesn't give you the idea of goldenness, you know, smells, perfumes that smell very golden, but it evokes summer days. The citrus notes, the lemon, the bergamot, the grapefruit, they really punch you when you first spray this, and I actually don't like it when I first spray it. It's just really tart sweet, and I don't care for it. But that really quickly fades away, and what you end up with is a mixture of lychee, a little bit of the warm sand, and really pretty florals. Soft, feminine. The lychee is quite sweet, but not overly so. If you've never smelt lychee, it's a really great fruit. I had it a lot when I was in Hawaii. It's just a lovely, lovely tropical fruit. It's very linear, very light, very pleasant, and very, very wearable. So it's not, out of all of the fragrances in the Imaginary Authors line, I would say this is one of the least unique, but I don't necessarily mean that in a bad way. It really is just, to me, something a lot of people would sniff and go, yeah, I could wear that. It's just very easy to wear. Soft to moderate projection, and this will wear for about 6 hours, maybe a little more. So 6 to 8, I would say. It's not something I would probably rush out and buy a full bottle of because, again, it's not the most unique scent in the line, but it is very, very wearable, and I think it's great for summer, casual wear, beach vacations. I could see a lot of people really enjoying this and getting the full bottle, and maybe someday I'll go and get one. It's not my top priority, but I do like it, and I could see myself owning a full bottle.
Honey, come home. My stubborn ways are behind me now.
The next one is the Cobra and the Canary, and Imaginary Authors says that you wear this on hot, hazy weekdays when you can put your life on hold and enjoy a simple luxury like a fast drive in the country. What a great description. Notes are lemon, orris, specifically I think orris root, tobacco flowers, leather, hay fields, and asphalt. This to me is not a warm weather fragrance the way that it's kind of described. This to me is very much for fall nights, maybe winter nights. It just has notes that I don't think would do very, very well in a warm, hazy day. It opens with a smell that is almost acrid, for lack of a better term, and a lot of people don't like it when they first spray it. When I first spray this, I get a lot of the tobacco. And the tobacco is not a dusty, smoky tobacco like the tobacco most people are used to. It's actually tobacco flowers, or to me, raw tobacco. So actual kind of slightly damp, fresh, not yet dried tobacco. I actually really like it. And there's also a little bit of the hay. The hay is kind of sweet, kind of musty, and some tar, which is probably the asphalt note. That's what I get on the opening. So a lot of people don't like it when they first spray it. I think it's really neat. I actually really, really like it. For the most part, this fragrance, for most of its lifetime, is tobacco and leather with hints of tartness and powderiness throughout the days. I do not get lemon on the opening, which is unusual because usually lemon is a top note and it tends to fade away very quickly. With the Cobra and the Canary, and to me the lemon is the canary, you know, that bright yellow flitting kind of scent, I don't get the lemon until about halfway through. And it's a very tart, thin smell. It's not headache inducing, it doesn't smell like cleaner, it's very much just like lemon juice. The iris I get towards the end, but only very faint. I actually really, really like the Cobra and the Canary, but the reason I like it instead of loving it is because it sits really close to the skin, at least on me, even when I spray a lot. Now, that's normally not a huge problem for me. I am a dainty spritzer. I don't like to be the person you can smell from 6 feet across the room. I really don't. I want people to smell me when they get within about a foot of me. However, this one just sits so close to my skin. Even with 4 or 5 sprays, people had to actually get really close and smell my wrist or smell my hair to get it. They couldn't smell it even within a foot or 2 of me with 5 to 6 sprays. So it's just very, very light, and I find that kind of sad. The lasting power is pretty good. This stuff lasts for at least 8 hours. I do think I might eventually buy a full bottle of this one, but kind of like Falling into the Sea, it's not in my loves list. The loves are the ones that I want to buy right away. These I might buy eventually, but this is a really nice scent. I just wish it was bigger. Next I have Les Orchides Terribles, or Les Orchides Terrible, or the Terrible Orchid. I'm terrible with French, so this isn't going to go so well. When to wear, it says, tragically glamorous, this scent will introduce a lord to an otherwise humdrum little black dress. And then it's got a line in French that I'm not going to try and do. Notes are orchid, honey, muguet, which is actually lily of the valley, aldehydes, white musk, and satin. Now I had a really hard time figuring out how to review this one. And the reason is, and I couldn't figure out why I was having a problem at first. Because I appreciate this, and when I wear it, I enjoy sniffing it, but at the same time, I know it's not something I would buy and put on myself. But I appreciate it. And I feel that way about a lot of fragrances. There's a lot of stuff that I have tried that is not up my alley, but I could still appreciate. So I had a hard time figuring out for a couple of hours why I was having a hard time reviewing it. And I realized it's because this is an aldehyde-based fragrance. It has a lot of aldehydes. And I know that I don't like aldehydes. It's not like green notes or citrus notes, which I can either love, hate, or be meh about, you know. It's a scent that I know I don't like and I actively avoid. And because I actively avoid those aldehyde-based fragrances, I feel like I don't know as much about those types of scents as I do others. So that being said, I still feel like I can give some insight on this fragrance. This is one where if you go to Fragrantica, you're going to see a lot of people have disliked it. And it kind of makes me sad. Now, I think what happened is a lot of people bought or received the sampler set, like me, and this is included. And it just wasn't up their alley, and they hated it. I think this is a really great fragrance, but only for a specific customer. And I think that specific customer would really, really like it. This, to me, the aldehydes are a mixture of that really classic perfume smell. Things like Chanel No. 5 that have that really classic aldehyde smell. And also it has a bit of a fizzy quality to it, kind of carbonated and slightly sweet. It's interesting, but definitely chemical, definitely an aldehyde. There's a little bit of sweetness from the honey, and the musk and the satin provides some texture, provides softness. The whole composition, to me, is really, really soft. And the musk becomes more prominent throughout the day. There's also some really pretty florals in here. There's orchid and lily of the valley, and those two together create a really soft, clean floral smell. So this is just not up my alley, but I will say it suits a certain customer perfectly. If you like aldehyde-based fragrances, I think you would really love this. When I smell this, this one out of all of the imaginary author scents, to me, probably suits the author and the book they wrote and the backstory the best. As soon as I smell this, I get an image of a model from the 1950s. This makes me think of, you know how Marilyn Monroe, and I'm a big Marilyn Monroe fan, Marilyn Monroe loved Chanel No. 5, and she just was a big fan of it and really promoted it and enjoyed it. I could see 1950s starlets and models and glamorous women in general, socialites and all that, really loving this and clamoring for it. So I don't think it's old or anything like that. It's just, it fits a certain niche. This also has incredible power. I think this is one of the most powerful fragrances in the line. It has moderate to heavy projection, and it lasts for well over 12 hours. Even after I showered, I could still smell it on my wrist. So it's an incredibly powerful, long-wearing, high-quality fragrance. It's for a certain customer.
I woke the dawn, saw horses growing out the lawn.
Last on my list of fragrances that I like is Yesterday Haze. This says when to wear. The seductive, dreamlike quality of this scent works like a magnet. Use it liberally during the day, and as it lingers into night, watch as those around you are lured into your sphere. Notes are fig, iris, cream, tonka, tree bark, walnut bitters, and orchard dust. I will say this is not my idea of seductive, but I can see why it's one of the most popular scents in the line. It is a gourmand, and it manages to be sweet without being sickly or cloying or sometimes gourmands, really sweet gourmands, can come off as being little girlish, like cheap perfume. I don't think this smells like this at all. I get a lot of fig, no other fruits, pretty much just fig, but a really fresh, juicy fig, and then what smells like crystallized sugar on top of it. This does get a bit more woodsy and musky throughout the day, but just a bit. I find this one to be pretty straightforward, sweet gourmand. Now they say in the description to apply it liberally, and again, this is another one that, like the Cobra and the Canary, I found it really hard to get this to come off of my skin, to jump off. So you will have to apply it liberally. Staying power is average. I got about 6 hours, maybe 7. But it's a very light smell, very pretty, very wearable. I could see this being an everyday scent for somebody because it's inoffensive and very nice and very charming. I'm considering buying a full bottle of this eventually because I think it would be really nice for work. Next is my list of scents that I disliked. And you'll notice that I put these in the middle of the video. 2 reasons for that. I like to start on a high note, go down a little, and then end on a high note. So I want the beginnings and ends of my videos and reviews, if possible, to be high notes. I really like that. Second is because when we teach people how to write, we teach them that there's a couple of places people are going to go and readers are going to look first to see what they think of the piece. They're going to look at headings and subheadings, titles, things like that, and then they're going to look at the very beginning and the very end. And I find that if I put anything negative, for lack of a better term, at the beginning or end of a fragrance review, I tend to get a lot of people who are just mortally offended. Niche fragrances tend to inspire really strong fan reactions, and people who love a house, if you say something that is negative and they haven't picked up on the positive things you've said, they can get really upset and defensive. And I don't want that to happen because I think this is a great house. But like most fragrance houses, Imaginary Authors has some scents that I think are just not good. The first one I actually don't have the vial of anymore. I sent it to a better home, somebody I thought might like it more.
Roses are red and violets are blue. Honey sweet, but not as sweet as you. Roses are red and violets are blue.
And it's called Violet Disguise. When to wear is, this is a versatile fragrance that will remind you of the simpler joys in life. Violet Disguise will invigorate and put a spring in your step. Notes are plum, violet, dried fruits, balsam, amber, evening air, and the month of May. I hated the smell of this thing. I got nothing invigorating. It did not put a spring in my step. When I first spritzed it, the top, when I first sprayed it, I liked it. It had the smell of fresh cut violets and then some plum and a little bit of sweetness. But very quickly the violet faded away and all I got was this cloying, sickly, plastic, too sweet, really disgusting fruit smell that I just didn't like. And I was really upset because a lot of people seem to enjoy this violet smell quite a bit, and I do like the smell of violets. It was just so gross on my skin and I couldn't wait to get it off. Luckily it has moderate projection and average to above average longevity. I would say 6 to 8 hours on this one. It came off easily when I showered. I was really thankful for that. So I did send this one to somebody who I think might like it more, somebody who likes a lot of those sweet floral smells. But on me, unfortunately, this was just sickly sweet, very fake smelling, and just unpleasant. I didn't care for it at all. My list of ones that I disliked, or this one's not so much a dislike as it is kind of a disappointment and I'm really upset about it, is City on Fire, which is the newest scent. When to wear, it says the refined smoke accord makes this an austere and luxurious scent for evenings on the town, whether with a special someone or alone and looking for trouble. interesting description. Notes are cade oil, spikenard, cardamom, clear wood, dark berries, laudanum, and a burnt match. And this was sort of suggested has a smoky, true burnt match, fireside type of smell. And because I'm disgusting, I like that smoky smell of bonfires, I like tobacco, I like the smell of a burnt match. I don't know why, I just like it. So I was really excited. And I think that's why this is on my dislike list. It's not that it's terrible, it's just I expected a lot from it and I didn't get much. When I first spray this, and I have it on this wrist, and it's almost gone already. When I first spray this, it's really unpleasant. It is the burnt match smell, which I like, but it's over top of something that smells like burnt rubber. It might be the fruit notes and they're just not working well for me, but it smells like burnt rubber. Just really gross burnt rubber. There's nothing aesthetically pleasing about it to me. After about an hour, you start to get more of the cardamom, a little bit of warmth, but for the most part, this on my skin is just a standard smoke smell, and not like the pleasant smell of when you come home from a bonfire, you know, you have some smoke on you, but it doesn't smell dirty. It smells woodsy and warm, and I really like that smell. This just kind of smells like smoke with a little bit of spice in it. It starts out with a pretty good projection, I would say moderate. People can smell it on you within a foot or two, and then it fades down to a skin scent. It's just smoke. I'm sorry, I wish I liked it more. It's just bland to me. Compared to much of this line, which I find to be very wearable / very interesting, this one is just boring. The opening is disgusting and I don't think anybody's gonna want to wear it, and for the rest of that fragrance's life, I feel like City on Fire smells like a lot of other smoky, incensey, spicy type of fragrances, just less interesting. So I was kind of bummed about that. I will say that the smoke smell, even though it's a skin scent, I've tested this once before, it does last pretty long. So you'll get to have the smoke smell for 8 hours plus, but I don't know, I don't think it's that interesting. I'm really upset about it because I wanted to love this.
I still see Elisa, she keeps on returning.
Last on my dislike list is Cape Heartache, and this one might be controversial because I think a lot of people like it. When to wear, it says, for any new adventure, including but not limited to beach bonfires, first dates, party crashing, or simply bar hopping alone on a rainy night. Like a scarf, wear Cape Heartache in the fall and winter and observe how people gravitate to your warmth. That sounds beautiful, it really does. The notes are Douglas fir, pine resin, western hemlock, vanilla leaf, strawberry, old growth, mountain fog. I disliked this one for 2 reasons. Number one is that it smells a lot like Memoirs of a Trespasser, just with a couple of the notes rearranged or altered, and then the addition of some strawberry. And I'm going to talk about Memoirs of a Trespasser in a moment, but it's just like it smells a lot like it, and I think Memoirs of a Trespasser does a similar, it has a similar vibe and it does it better. Now they are by the same imaginary author, so maybe that was the motivation, but between the two, Memoirs of a Trespasser just blows this one out of the water. It's also incredibly synthetic smelling on me. Now I know I'm going to get the comment that, well, all perfumes are synthetic, they're made from chemicals. Yeah, I get that, but when you smell a good perfume, it doesn't smell cheap or fake. A good gourmand will smell like actual chocolate, actual caramel, actual vanilla. A good, I'm going to talk about one here that has some interesting notes in a couple of minutes, and it's made to smell like a tennis court, and it really does smell like playing tennis. It doesn't smell fake. This one smells really fake. Now, on the initial blast, it doesn't smell fake at all. On the initial blast, it smells like Memoirs of a Trespasser with a little more pine. So, and I grew up in Pennsylvania, so there's a lot of pine trees here. I know that smell very well. Like a resinous, sappy pine and a hint of strawberry. And it's a nice strawberry at first, a very fresh, plump strawberry. But very quickly, it just becomes, the strawberry becomes very fake, very synthetic, like the cheap scratch and sniff sticker kind of strawberry, and the rest of the smell is just kind of like Memoirs of a Trespasser. So it becomes Memoirs of a Trespasser with a hint of pine and a scratch and sniff strawberry, and I just don't like that. I think it's just not pleasant to me. If you want the warm, woodsy, like a scarf kind of smell, skip this and go for Memoirs of a Trespasser. I would say this has moderate projection and wear. People will smell you within a foot or two, and it lasts for 6 to 8 hours on my skin. Certainly not least are the ones that I loved, and these are the kinds of smells that when I sniff them I think full bottle, definitely worth a full bottle, no hesitation. And top of the list, and I'm just gonna get it out of the way, is Memoirs of a Trespasser. So when to wear, it says a true adventure scent. Wear Memoirs of a Trespasser when traveling, and again when you're back home to conjure comforting memories. The notes are Madagascar vanilla, Gaoak wood, myrrh, benzoin resin, ambrette seeds, and oak barrels. This is one that I almost feel silly reviewing it because it is a niche darling. The fragrance community has really embraced this, fallen in love with it. It gets raved about all the time. Anytime anybody talks about imaginary authors, this one comes up as a must try. So I almost feel silly reviewing it and saying I love it, but I love it. Now, when I first spray this, truth time, when I first spray this, it smells to me like a library full of old books. And I told my dad that. I was sitting in the car with him and I said, you know, to me it smells like the old library that we used to have when you would go downstairs to get the books. You'd go down in the basement and that's where a lot of the books were. And I said, I always liked that smell, and when I first put this thing on, that's what it smells like. And my dad goes, oh, so it smells like old paper and mildew. And I went, because mildew is not something we think of as smelling pleasant. But then my dad said, well, you know, that's kind of what old books smell like. It's not bad, but it's old paper, mildew, glue, a little bit of dust. And I love that smell. Again, I'm an English teacher. Books are just, I love anything that smells like that. So I love it. I'm obsessed with it. That does fade away. I will say though that I think that mildew smell, by the way, is coming from the ambrette seeds because they tend to have a really earthy smell and some of the woods mixing in there since paper comes from wood. But anyway, so after a little bit it fades and it becomes a warm, enveloping woods and vanilla. This is not a gourmand vanilla to me, and that's not to say that it's not pleasant or it's not sweet, because it is sweet, but it doesn't smell like food. It's a very woodsy, warm vanilla. I love to wear this. I've worn it a lot since I got it, and it has a moderate projection, but I mean, people have to get within, you know, a foot or two to smell me, and that's with 2 or 3 sprays. If I do 1 spray of this, it sits quite close to my skin. So I wear this to work a lot. It's very warm and friendly and inviting, and it won't knock people off their feet. Even people who don't normally like vanilla, when they smell this, they tend to think it's at least okay, because it's not sickly sweet. They're like, oh yeah, it's kind of nice, what's in it? And I'll say vanilla, and they'll say, oh, I normally don't like vanilla. It's just a real crowd pleaser. You could maybe wear it all season round, but on me it just envelopes me in warmth. So I don't know if I'd wear it in spring and summer. But it's a great fall and winter day smell, night smell, just an all-around fantastic fragrance. I will say that this is relatively linear, and sometimes that's a bad thing. I usually like it when niche fragrances tell me a story. Like L'Orchidée Terrible gives me a story. This one is pretty linear, but I'm kind of happy about it because I really like the smell. Lasts for about 8 to 10 hours, especially if I put it in my hair, and I am currently saving up for a full bottle of this one. says when to wear. This is a powerful scent for someone who knows what they want. Bull's blood is for those nights when you want to take the bull by the horns. Notes are patchouli, rose, costus root, tobacco, black musk, and bull's blood. Now, some Fragrantica reviews have made this sound like it's either really disgusting or really hard to wear, but I think it's interesting, definitely powerful, and very daring. I don't think it suits me personally. It's one of those things where when I put it on myself, I like it, but I think it would be better on somebody else. But I really do love it. I think it's a great smell. It opens with a rose that is kind of metallic. It's not a feminine, powdery, delicate rose. It's kind of a metallic rose. And there's also something animalic. And I think that's the costus root. Costus has a tendency to smell very animalic to me. Not in a dirty way, not in a fecal way, but in a way that's warm, leathery, skin-like. So it's really cool. It really does smell, to me, like bull's blood over rose petals. It's neat. The patchouli develops on my skin after about an hour, but the rose is always, to me, the most powerful scent. It's always the front line. Overall, though, I think this is really well blended. It changes a lot throughout its lifespan. It starts out with that animalic scent, the patchouli develops, and then towards the end you get a lot more muskiness. It's just a cool smell, very daring. I think a really interesting person would wear this, like a rock star smell. I would compare it to, I would say this is like a more masculine version of Paul Kyler's Red Leather. And I kind of said the same thing about red leather, which is that I love it. I think it's great. I think I'm just not cool enough to wear it. But this is going to be full bottle worthy for anyone who likes things that are daring, interesting. If you're into masculine type rose smells, this is a good one. Wears for 12 hours and it only fades a little bit after you shower. So it's one that really sticks to the skin. And I got moderate to heavy projection with this one.
It may embarrass you to hear me say it, but say it I must, say it I must. You have the cool, clear eyes of a seeker of wisdom and truth.
Last but not least on my list of loved imaginary authors' fragrances is the Soft Lawn. For when to wear, it says a great leisure fragrance. Wear the Soft Lawn on weekends or anytime you wish it were the weekend. Perfect description. The notes are linden blossom, laurel and ivy leaves, vetiver, oak moss, fresh tennis balls, and clay court. And this is the one that I mentioned earlier where I said it's got kind of a funky note, but it really works. That's the tennis balls. There's definitely a tennis ball smell here. And I think this one is the smell that tends to intrigue people the most because they're like, really, does it have a tennis ball smell to it? Yeah, it does. It's not super strong, it's not overpowering. It is slightly rubbery. If you've ever opened a tube of tennis balls, you know the smell. Slightly rubbery, a little sweet, and for lack of a better word, kind of hairy. But it's very faint and it mixes very well with the other scents. Now the real star of the Soft Lawn, the scent that carries for pretty much the whole lifetime and just shines through in this fragrance, is linden blossom. Sweet, but not feminine sweet, not cloying sweet, just a pleasant, bright, green, fresh, sweet, faintly lime-like, just really, really pleasant, very clean. The vetiver and the oak moss, kind of those traditional cologne smells, they become more prominent later on. So after a couple of hours, you're going to get a little more of those rougher, more textured green smells. So overall, definitely a green scent. Definitely, to me, smells like people playing tennis on a tennis court, you know, in their, like an upper class country club in their tennis whites. I really, really like it. Now, pretty much every fragrance that Imaginary Authors comes up with is listed as unisex, and this one, my initial reaction is this is summer cologne for men. But I'm not saying women can't wear it. It's just when I smell it, I think, what a great summer cologne for men. However, the more I sniff it, the more I really want a full bottle of it. I think it's really cool and very fresh and just light, it's not overpowering, it's not heavy. It does have pretty good projection, and it does last for about 8 hours, but it never feels heavy. It never feels like it's suffocating people. It just remains very light and very pleasant. So I really like this one. Not going to buy a full bottle right now. I'm saving up for Memoirs of a Trespasser, like I said, but I think I'm going to try this again in the summer and see if I think it really, really suits me. But I love this one. It's a great, great creation. Overall, I think this is a fantastic, fantastic line with a lot of variety. And because of that variety, I think most people are going to find at least one fragrance that they really, really like. The bottles are gorgeous. I love the bottles. I think my favorite bottle, unfortunately, is for one that I would not buy for myself, which is Les Orchidées Terrible. My French is bad, I'm sorry. But yeah, so that one, I love the bottle, but I would never wear it, so kind of a shame. But they're all really, really well made. You can't beat the price. $85 for 60 ml is great for a niche fragrance. These are really great hair scents, H-A-I-R, hair, which sounds weird, but let me explain. I really like to wear my perfume in my hair. I might spritz on my wrists and on my chest, but my favorite place to wear my fragrance is in my hair, because number one, when perfume is in your hair, I find that it doesn't overwhelm people as much. It doesn't jump off of you as much. It sticks to the hair in a sense, but it also seems to last longer. It's like your hair just kind of sucks up this is weird, but your hair just kind of sucks up the perfume and holds it there. And I found that pretty much every scent from Imaginary Authors is great when you spray it in your hair. And even after I wash my hair, I can still smell some of these, like Memoirs of a Trespasser, Les Orchidées Terrible. They really, really stick in your hair. Now, as a final note, I will say that I've seen a few comments on Imaginary Authors that say, you know, oh, I watch reviews of these and I read about them and they don't seem very wearable. So some people have said, yeah, you know what, they sound cool, but I feel like people don't want to wear stuff like this. Like, it sounds weird and no one wants to wear something that smells weird. I have to disagree. I think pretty much all of these are super, super wearable. The Soft Lawn, like I said, ideal men's cologne scent. Bull's Blood and Les Orchidées Terrible, they're strong and they're going to need a specific buyer. They're really for a specific person, but I could see that person wearing them, especially at night or for a special occasion. Memoirs of a Trespasser, most people like this. It's just, I wear it to work. Very warm, very inviting. Falling into the Sea and Yesterday Haze, light, sweet, pleasant, everyday kind of scents to me. So most of these, I disagree with the idea that they are not wearable. I think most of them are really, really wearable. They're not bland, they're not boring, but they're wearable. I can see people going out on an everyday basis and wearing these. So that was my review of Imaginary Authors. I'm really impressed with the line. I hope you guys give them a try. The website is imaginaryauthors.com. I will link to it. And again, the bookshelf has a lot of varieties. The bookshelf is the Discovery set. It's got a lot of variety and it's great for the price. Definitely worth trying.